Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Anime Almanac podcast. This is the second Manga Manifesto. It's been so long. I've missed you all, and I appreciate you all for sticking it out with me, especially during these trying times. You know, midterms and school and work. Man, it's all no joke, especially when you're in college. Sadly, I forgot how time-consuming this was. But in the meantime, I've been creating and drafting up a bunch of content for you guys so I don't skip a beat and go on some impromptu hiatus again. But in return, some of the episodes might be a bit shorter. Some of my interviewees have pushed back our interviews, so I might be interviewing less, but that means I'll be able to gather more prospects in the future. I also got a new microphone, so the sound quality is highly improved. Also, be sure to listen until the end because I have some big announcements for the future of Anime Almanac. But without further rambling, let's get it poppin'. Tokyo Revengers chapters 2022 on. Big spoiler alert, if you haven't caught up with Tokyo Revengers, I'd advise you to skip because I'm about to go in. Man, RIP to my guy Draken. I thought he was going to bounce back like 50 after taking them bullets, but the future is always tricky. But in the meantime, we got my guy Takamichi, and it would make sense that in Takamichi's timeline, if he saved Senju, somebody else would have to die. And I mean, like, what can you do when delinquents start using weapons? You can't bring a knife to a gunfight. But when Draken said, "You saved my life, so I'll gladly put my life on the line for you," I was in shambles. No room. Because at the end of the day, if you find a friend that's willing to cry for you, they're solid. If you find a friend that's willing to die for you, that's a friendship that transcends life for real. But when his dying breath was spent on him asking Takamichi if he could take care of Mikey, that was beautiful, honestly. And I know a lot of people like to hate on Tokyo Revengers, but one thing Wakui-san is great at is creating drama. Each chapter is like a mini soap opera, so I can understand why fans keep coming back no matter how mad the chapters make us. Also, Draken is dead, but hopefully they'll use his death to, figure out and to get more motivation. And also, how did these teenagers get their hands on holotips? Like, my fault, gun talk. But he is dead, and the story must go on. And now we get some info on what some of the other deities are doing. Now, Rokuhara Tandai's underlings are getting beat up for doing a good job, which is kind of interesting. Like, you completed the hit, and now your boss is beating you up. These kids are crazy. Now, Takamichi's very out of it because, his bro just died. And Senju is trying to get some help, but he can't change what happened. The weight of what's going on is going to take a toll on our crybaby hero for a few chapters. Now, Rokuhara made a move on Brahman while they were trying to make a plan. And Takaomi wanted this anyways. He wanted a bloodbath to begin. So now, we begin with Draken's Requiem. And Mikey speeding out of nowhere with his bike. The air just changed. Like, you could feel the pressure in the manga, which is ridiculous. Because on top of Mikey being crazy right now, he's never really tried to kill anybody before. So imagine if he decided to use that force to catch a body. He came deep too. All three of the deities' gangs are there now, so it all starts tonight. This is for Draken, and the war of the three deities has begun. It seems like Mikey doesn't get what's going on, or like Takamichi, he's just out of it right now because he doesn't want to fight. So he's just letting Kanto Manji gang handle it. Then we get some action between South and his underlings and some old Tenjiku members. And why is Waka so cool? He just tells Takamichi to watch after Brahman's princess while they all go to war. It's dope though because we get some legacy action going on. The first gen Black Dragons versus South. That fight is going to be awesome. Then we get to chapter 226 and the greatest duo already knocked down 100 men. The first gen dragons are something special. Then we find out Benkei and Waka divided Kanto before they were the Black Dragons. How strong were these guys? Turns out they used to get crazy active back in the day. They were even called the Red Cliff and the White Leopard. These nicknames that they come up with are pretty wicked, I'm not gonna lie. And of course, Shinichiro, Mikey's older brother, was the one to unify them all. It's crazy that the manga parallels Shinichiro and Takamichi. I kind of like that lineage aspect and the legacy aspect of the gangs because they're all about their history. It's easy to get lost in the drama of Tokyo Revengers, but the little historical details like this bring it together very nicely. I can't wait to find out what's next because now all they can do is move forward. There's no going back anymore. Funny how I said that there's no going back and now we get a flashback. Why are these kids from other countries? Why is South from Brazil? As a kid, he was murdering people. No wonder why his gang sent a hit on Draken. His boss Dino is who turned him into a monster. And how does he look like that at the age of 12? This kid's like at least 6'5". He might have been taller than Draken, so he's probably like 6'7". And I mean, if he's Brazilian, I get it because the kids there are kind of tall, but still. Then South goes to Juvenile, beats up all the people who are now in Rokuhara Tandai, and they waited for him to be established as soon as he gets out. So they were ready to form a gang. They just waited for him to do his bid, which is crazy. Like, what are these high school kids doing? And like everybody who reads Tokyo Revenger says, where are their parents? The Black Dragon's strongest duo doesn't seem like they'll win this fight though, because South is a fool. The fight commences and Waka's kicks are like rubber. They even refer to him as an Ida-ten, which is a Buddhist guardian known for its agility. And that's a good comparison because Ida-tens are pretty strong. And Benkei made South fly like 2 meters, so these two are insane. But when South tapped into his dark impulsivity and beat the crap out of them, like what Mikey was talking about when he spoke to Takamichi about these dark urges that he gets. So that was crazy. He didn't one-shot him, but he beat the brakes off him. Now Senju is about to fight South, and I have no clue how she'll beat him. But she's probably about to get maybe like a 2 or 3 chapter backstory and maybe a little power-up. So that will make sense. Can't wait to see how this is going to turn out. Next, we'll go to My Hero Academia. These chapters have been all amazing. Yeah, I guess I can't get rid of the puns. They're stuck. This chapter just proves why All Might is one of, if not the best mentor type characters. On top of that, Stain is back to show a woman removing stains from an All Might statue. That's pretty dope. Horikoshi, stains and stains, that's dope. Or rather, vandalism. All Might goes for a ride to view his statues that got desecrated. In doing so, Stain surprises him with a sword to his neck. Pause. Rather than kill him, he interrupts All Might to have a self-dialogue about how he let down Deku. They're having a conversation about how he isn't the same hero. I guess Stain just doesn't want him to go out sad. He shows him that even though people are revolting, people still believe in All Might and what he stood for, and stands for currently. Also, shout out to Horikoshi again for his attention to detail. The woman who's cleaning up his statue is the last woman All Might saved during his fight with All For One, which is amazing. His callbacks unparalleled. Their exchange ends with Stain pretty much leaving some info, maybe an address of where to find him, which might allude to All Might going to find him and invoke justice. I don't know. The thing is, I don't think All Might has ever killed a villain, because if he did, the story wouldn't be a thing in the first place. So, if he does go and kill Stain in his current condition, he might die. I don't know, I feel like All Might is saving a little bit in the tank for when he needs it, but then after that, he's probably going to die. On top of that, we get some exposition on how Stain acquired the information he gave to All Might. Stain was always on some grimy timing, and especially when he broke out of Tartarus. He ran up on this guy easy and then just shink, sliced him up, something slight. It's also crazy how AFO is just playing with these other villains right now. He's trying to tell them that he needs them, but aside from the fear, they somehow respect him. Yet they're all disposable to him, which is crazy to be honest. Then we get informed that Shiggy only needs a few more days before he's at peak strength, but then he goes to Stars and Stripes on his own. She's supposedly the strongest hero after All Might, but Shiggy went to greet her by himself. And you already know he's fighting dirty, he's a villain. I hope her quirk is like OP. From the looks of it, she can't fly since she pulled up on fighter jets. Maybe her quirk will involve sound of some sort, or like, I don't know, some sort of manifestations or something, because I don't know how she's that brolic. I digress. Since she can't touch Shiggy on the account of all the quirks he hasn't used yet, and Decay on top of that, and, he can just steal her quirk by touching her, the cards are stacked against the number one hero of America. Alright, I lied. After this chapter, Stars and Stripes is broken. Like, she has a whole Nen ability. So let's get into chapter 330. I like how when the pilots ask her what they're doing next, and she says they're about to smash. She's a ride or die All Might fanatic. She might be more of a fan than Deku, to be honest. It's interesting, too, because Shiggy is having an identity crisis right now. He said he knows he's himself, but also me, which is interesting. That might be AFO controlling him or making it so they can eventually become one person. It's weird because he's in his own body still, so maybe he plans on getting rid of himself so he can fully transition into Shigaraki? Or, AFO is going to keep his body and then become a hive mind with Shiggy and they fuse and make a new person. I really don't know. But wow. Shiggy could wipe out an entire city block with the combined move he just hit Stars and Stripe with. He now has grown in combat prowess by resting, if you couldn't tell. He stacked multiple quirks together and almost blew Double S and the pilots out of the way. Now that's crazy. By the looks of it, whatever she touches can get affected by her quirk New Order. She just touched air and said that all the air in front of me is gone. That's ridiculous. Like, I'm not even like, no cap. That's crazy. Because, alright, let me just explain her quirk so no one is confused, because what she just did was ridiculous. Her quirk is called New Order. It's an ability to set 2 rules to something. The only catch is she has to touch that something and know its name. She can set 2 rules at once, and it's usually just one, because the rule she sets on herself is always working, which is her super strength currently. The other rule can be attached to anything, and she can cancel them as she sees fit. Which leads me to believe she has a regular form like All Might does, so Double S might be a strong baddie, but she also might be a petite baddie too. Who knows? I don't know. It's interesting how that's her quirk because she's from America, and they usually impose any kind of international rules regarding to other places. So, the writing in My Hero Academia is peak, as usual. This is awesome because Stars and Stripes has a flashback to when All Might saved her and her sister when he was in America. This is big news because that means the movies are canon. Maybe more like an Easter egg for the sake of callbacks, but canon nonetheless. But wow. So Shiggy is becoming an entirely new person. AFO and him are merging into something entirely new, which would mean that until he gives himself a new name, her quirk can't directly work on him. Then we get an explosion. I wonder what's going to happen next. Alright, now we're in the latest chapter. And what the man. Man, Stars and Stripes just manifested herself as the air in the atmosphere. She's definitely the strongest hero in the world right now because she just slapboxed Iggy with air. Like, what? Then she's like, all right, this guy's a threat to the world. Send the nukes. Shorty said, all right, let's pull up the red button and bloop, send the nukes. And it was cool too because in the chapter, Horikoshi did a callback to a character that looks like a Star Wars character, which is awesome. And it's dope because his references and the way he can pull stuff from other works of media is ridiculous. Because if you guys remember back when My Villain Academia was taking place, in the last few arcs, Denji was in one of the spreads and he's a Chainsaw Man character. And that was an official published spread in the manga. Horikoshi can do what he wants. This is amazing. But My Hero has found a way to become one of my new favorite weekly reads again. Everyone doesn't like seeing the student's perspective, but now that we're back into the action, it's refreshing. So, I enjoy it. Next up, we got Dragon Ball Super. I barely talk about Super, so let's get it. If y'all are hip to Twitter, I'm sure you remember when they ripped Vegeta a new one. I'm talking about when they put all his L's in chronological order. That was nasty. But now we have something very interesting to talk about. After Vegeta pulling a Goku, he biting his ops, Bardock got introduced into the canon. This is good for the story because we could possibly get a very cohesive flashback. They made Goku astonishingly stupid in Super, so of course he'd never ask about his dad. But Vegeta used to work with Raditz, so he definitely knows something. I got that anecdote from my guy Dame. Shout out to him. He'll be on the podcast someday. Sure, the cereal guy, or is it granola? I don't know. But he is caught off guard when he realizes his people were saved by Saiyans. Nonetheless, this has gotten fairly interesting for the canon. I might pick Super back up, but just for Bardock alone, especially if it makes Goku care more and knocks some sense into him. Maybe he'll get less stupid. I don't know. Don't expect this to be a regular thing. I'm not going to pick Super back up unless Vegeta gets a win, which is never happening. Or they talk about Bardock. Yep. And guess what? Bardock got a whole chapter. Great to see where Goku gets his heroism from. His pops was a natural born protector. Hopefully, the next chapter after that, it makes me want to continue Super, but who knows? I don't know. Jujutsu Kaisen. Let's kick it like Jujutsu. My fault. But these chapters have been interesting in terms of normalcy. It's nice to see the students or ex-students sitting around catching up. Hakari found out Megumi was the head of the Zenin clan. His attitude switched up quick, and the face he made was priceless. But what they both don't know is Maki pulled an Itachi, and now they're clanless. So that'll be funny when we get there. I hope Maki doesn't fight any of them in the Culling game because she's very OP right now. And I honestly feel like the way that they made her, she can beat anybody. Maybe even Yuji or Megumi, it depends. So I hope they don't have to fight each other. But if Megumi does perfect his domain, it's GG's for Maki, but I digress. Now we have Gojo's grandma, Kashimo. Nah, let me chill. They're not related, but since Gojo has been in the box, I guess Gege needed some practice, so he whipped up a lookalike. So now Kashimo has added a rule to the Culling game since he has so many points. The game is now open source, meaning you can look info up on anyone who has been taking part in the game. This can be a good thing or a bad thing. The Koganades are neat too because they have little cursed messengers that convey the Culling game's rules. It's like a spreadsheet. I thought that was really dope. Now they're figuring out rules to add, who to hunt down, pandas being panda, and the fighting dropouts are confused, but they're down for the ride. As for the most recent chapters, I guess you could say Higaroma makes firm decisions. Get it? Because, he's a prosecutor and the entire chapter was about law. Oh, never mind. I digress. This chapter was a nice aside. It really shows you how talented Gege is and how he can weave stories together and provide decent background info that makes you care about the other characters. Higaroma seems to be a vigilante type, since, Lady Justice is blind, but he wants to actively judge the law how he sees fit. So in a way, that can get twisted. I like the chapters lately, but I'll leave y'all with one of my theories. Higaroma appears to be a cursed spirit user like Yuta. Possibly a vengeful cursed spirit since he kind of tweaked in the courtroom. But as far as my theory, I believe his power allows him to assess the weight of his client's cursed energy to determine if they're actually guilty or not. So once he can assess that, or like somehow gauge cursed energy, he can use that to his advantage. I don't really know. Open-ended theory, who knows? But the downside to that is I also believe his cursed spirit could be a diseased one as well, like how we saw with the smallpox deity. But if his cursed spirit deems someone to actually be guilty of whatever he accuses them of, maybe it'll kill them or weaken them, or infect them and make them go crazy. Maybe that's why he has so many points, because he doesn't seem like a strong guy, but his vengeful cursed spirit looks pretty OP. I don't know. It's just a theory. I'm pretty good at these theories, but I might get proven wrong. And if I confused you, put your thinking cap on a bit and, rewind the podcast. I don't know. I wonder if Gege put more women into the manga this time around for shock value, or because he's been killing them all, because he put a lot of baddies in these recent chapters. Now we get back to Yuji, and he's just throwing haymakers. It's crazy because when you look at his stances, he has no form. It's just hands. And Yuji, he's already strong. And his cursed energy allowing him to, scale sides of buildings and jump up in the air just to hit people who's flying with their cursed hair. What is going on? And when the propeller dude starts tearing apart the building, man, what is his hair care routine? I need that for real. If my locks could start, turning into propellers, that'd be pretty dope. And when Yuji loaded up to crack his dome, that was crazy. The propeller guy thought he broke his wrist, but nope. Yuji knocks the dude out, and another suspicious guy pops up saying he can help Yuji. Like, that's not sus. But what's funny is they were on the 10th floor. That's not suspect to a guy that, just decides to, offer help and say, hey, we went to the same high school. You want to, look around for whoever you're looking for? And it's cool because he actually, I'll talk about that later. Then we get back to Megumi and the paintbrush hair girl. I'm really digging her character, not just because she's pretty, but I like what Gege is doing right now. He's making it so we don't really know who's the rat, and any one of them could turn on the high school students. So it's dope. He's making us play the guessing game. But, they're both pretty prepared sorcerers, so I have faith. And plot armor isn't really a thing anymore, so Gege can just kill anybody. But I have faith. Yuji and Megumi aren't going to die until the end, if they even die. Now they're both going to two different places. Some guy's waiting for them who isn't Higaroma. And, we get some backstory on Yuji and Rin, that guy that he met on that 10th floor, and how they both, grew up together. Yuji was always fighting people. He went to save him. That was pretty cool. Yuji's trying to negotiate with this guy, with Higaroma, which I find to be hilarious because you can't really talk to these dudes. They just want to kill people. What doesn't Yuji get? I understand he's the, shonen protagonist and that's his trope, but what? But Megumi and Yuji, they're both on demon time now. Because Megumi got duped. The girl actually led him to some other dude, so that's going to be crazy. And, man, what? Then we got my guy solo leveling. My fault. Now we got my guy Sung Jesus, solo leveling. Woo Shiesty. What more can I say? We're back on the island. Bellion and Beryl get into it, but he says, you know what? Y'all both can serve me. So that's pretty dope. And it's cool how the soldiers show human-like expressions. Makes them more personable. They start building a house for him, this, that, and the third. And he just teleports home and cooks for his family. So that was dope. I also didn't like how, also actually I did like how he didn't tell his mom and sis about what happened to their dad because it would probably destroy them. And the world's ending, so they don't need that extra stress right now. But it's also cool how Sung's mom mentioned how their dad used to cook before big missions, and whatever Sung has planned is about to, it might kill him. So I don't know what's going to happen. And let's see. He's about to do something unimaginable, so such a respectable guy. I have a theory that Sung might somehow use all of his power to become like a new god or a new architect for the sake of the world. But I don't know. It's not too fleshed out yet, but I digress. Pretty much Sung's on edge. Like a lot of stuff is going on. And like the wrath or the destruction monarch is finally pulling up, burning stuff to shreds. Things are heating up. My fault. But he's just incinerating people. And like Canada is pretty much getting burned to ashes. Jin talks to his girlfriend. He's like, promise I'll see you again. He's like, yeah, I promise. Da da da. Like, he reveals to the world that pretty much everyone should escape where they live. Otherwise, you're going to die. Solo leveling is heating up crazy. Like, I don't know, man. And Jin finally pulls up to the scene, and he's just like, I got to do what I got to do. And before he even pulls up, he goes to the underground facility to get that rune from the old Dragon Kamish. So that's crazy. Fire Force, man, I don't know. I'll talk about Fire Force probably in its own separate chapter its own separate episode because, man. But that's pretty much all. I have a lot more planned, but I'm just going to wrap it up here. So, next Manga Manifesto, I'll try and talk about some different stuff. I'll definitely talk about Fire Force because I am cutting this a bit short. I'm catching up on Togen Anki, Nagatoro, Dandadan, Black Clover, Red Hood, One Piece, Mashley, you name it. So next Manga Manifesto, we eating. I'm starting Jujika no Rokunin, and I'm starting Shigahime. They're both pretty good right now. I'm reading Bakuan Redo, and it's awesome. I'll talk about that manga in its own episode because it's probably the best delinquent manga I've read. Next episode will probably be a fall anime season rundown so I can give you all some recommendations, and who knows what's after that. But overall, thank you guys for tuning back in. I plan on dropping videos in the near future on YouTube. So yes, that means you'll finally be able to see the face behind the Almanac. And we will get very active because guess what? I made a Discord for you guys. And it's already a level 1 server. So that means you guys can use GIFs, all that good stuff, emojis. It's going to be awesome. We can chat, talk about all this cool stuff. So when the Discord drops this week, please be on the lookout. And that's all the news that I'm allowed to share with you guys for now. So thank you for tuning in after the impromptu hiatus. Don't forget to follow the socials, Twitter, Almanac Anime, Instagram, YouTube, Anime Almanac. Please, and thank you. Please show love to the socials. And I guess that's it. Thanks again for tuning back in, guys. I truly love and appreciate you all. And this episode is dropping on Halloween, so happy Halloween. And if you don't celebrate tomorrow, happy Discount Candy Day. So, without further ado, hope you all have a great day, evening, or midday, whenever you tune in. Later.